So once you have these, we can this one will proceed. So the actual skeletal mesh or the static mesh and its sockets, it will check if the socket exists. If it does, run a sphere trace, and if it hits something, run on trace hit. This is what happens when a trace hit hits. So I'm hitting an actor and I have a function called can actor be hit. These are the conditions for the hit actor. So the hit actor, the actor that is hit must have a tag. That's only on the base trace. If you don't want that, you can totally override this, no problem. So the hit actor tags will either be a player or an AI. So every character that I have, if you open any character, you will see on the right side something called actor gameplay tags. If this only exists if you inherit from what do you call it? The Tempest-based character. So any Tempest-based character will have an actor gameplay tag. So that simply checks if you have it. For all the player stuff, I have the character player. For all the AI, I have character AI. So it's checking if this exists, or it has a pillar that I'm tagging unbreakable. You don't need to worry about this if you don't want to. And it's also checking that if this actor was already hit, don't re-hit. So do hit it only once. So I'm adding unique. Remember, this is being cleared here. I'm adding unique, setting the hit result of this, and then setting the attack property and applying damage. Now, setting attack property is where I want you to focus on here for now. Once you return back to attacking, I was explaining the ANS trace. Attack property is what we were setting here. Now let me show you, and that's again something you will have on your plugin. What was it called? Normal attack property. Now normal attack property will have values within it, or variables. So every property that you have might require different variables. Let's just say I have a swing of a sword. The swing of a sword is associated with, let's say, a specific hit reaction. Just say I was swinging right, I hit the AI will have to react left, theoretically speaking. So the swing direction is associated only with a swing of a sword or a weapon that can be swinged. An axe, a katana, twin blade, whatever you want to call it. So specific variables for specific attack properties. In the same time, if I'm using a gun, I'm shooting with a gun, well, it doesn't have a swing. I don't need a swing to associate it with a specific hit reaction. Rather, I only need a specific value, whether, let's just say an arrow, for example. If I'm charging an arrow 50%, 100%, the value will be different. Just say when I have an arrow power shot, if the arrow has a specific variable, you can add it, but it definitely does not have a swing direction. So normal attack property was used for swing directions, and that's a value. Let's just say you put here. Once you assign, you have multiples. Once you assign that, it will have an attack property which is inherited from the parent of this, the damage application per impact, and the buff application per impact. So I'm going to explain what these two are. So the attack property is something you tag the property with. That's pretty straightforward. The damage application per impact, if you open this up, the impact results differ per AI, per combat, per level, whatever you want to call it. The impact, usually what happens is if you hit something, is it going to be a block? Is it going to be a deflect? Is it going to be a parry? Is it going to be a normal hit? What is it going to be? So in this scenario, I was using twin blades only for greatsword, the greatsword boss. The greatsword boss does not have a block, does not have a parry, does not have a deflect, doesn't have anything. It's only going to take a hit. So for the player side, since this is the player, if the impact that you hit the boss with is an impact result hit, like a physical hit, perform this damages to apply. So one damage is going to be health to effect. It's going to be of value of 7. Now the value of 7, let's just say you played, but I ate a potion that should increase the damage I'm dealing by 50%, for example. Now that will be here. Modified by owner attributes. Let's just say you have the potion you ate buffs your attack power by 50%. This will be multiplied by this value if you have the attribute set to something. So say for example, I have attack power. Attack power of the player multiplied by the amount you want to apply will give you the final result that you want. So just say you're going to deal 10 and the potion you ate will gonna deal you 50% more, so that's 15. So you won't deal 7, you won't deal 15, even though it was set to 7. So other than health, excuse me, you will have poise, because we were dealing poise, remember in the video, or in the demo if you play it, the first few times you hit him, it's just IK. His body will twitch, but he won't physically react. There's no montage running. So if poise hits a certain person, that's a certain limit, sorry, the AI is programmed to perform hit reactions if the poise is under a certain level. So here I'm dealing 8. The Great Sword boss design was based on 200 poise, and if poise reaches 100, start performing hit reactions. If poise reaches 50, perform more of a knock hit reaction. If it reaches 0, well, you can stab him, you can parry him. So this is how it works. Buff application per impact will do the so let's just say buff application, let's just say you hit him with an attack that curses his defense, for example. You have a cursed weapon you hit him with. If you will set this to same as this one, so you can copy this. If it's a hit and the buffs to apply is gonna be based on conditions that you give the player. If something is active, this buff will be applied. So buff to apply, it can either be a buff, something that increases his power, and that's the receiver, by the way. I'm attacking somebody. Either increases his power, decreases power, curse him, do whatever you want to do. So that's handled here. And I'll explain later on detail how these things work. Right now, there's no much attention into it from whatever people I asked. No, not many is asking about this. So if you do feel you need more explanation here, let me know in Discord. So for attacking part, that's it for the tracing. So let's go back to the attack property. I was explaining attack property has something called a swing direction, and that's something you can change. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I have this one, it's only right, I want a left swing, but I'm gonna have to create a new class and so on, duplicate this and set it to left. No, you don't have to. This right here allows you to change the value at runtime. So whatever swing you have, you won't have to create a new normal attack property, normal attack property 1 and 2. Each one does this different direction. You don't have to do that. It's only done here. So let's just say I have a swing direction, but I also need, let's just say, other than direction, how fast or slow it's gonna be. Okay, I'm gonna add a new value. It's gonna be a float or a name, whatever you wanna call it. Compile it, and if you go back here, you're gonna see that the variable I just created right away shows here. So all the attack properties that you have, arrow, grab, gunshot, heavy, look up, leap, whatever you wanna call it, they all inherit from base attack properties, and each one of them has values that the other one doesn't need. So arrow, for example, does not need a swing direction, that's why you won't find it. But arrow has an arrow power, which you don't find here. So everything is different, and you don't have to worry about creating lots of classes for a different value of a variable. You can do all that here. So right now I explained how attack properties are, but I didn't explain how it functions. Now for attack property, this is what happens when you hit something. Set attack impact values. Before this even runs, I'm influencing. Remember when I said a value is being multiplied by this attack power? So if for every attack, for every value I have, if it's found within the if it's an impact result hit, it has a health, And if health has attack power associated with the damage you're gonna deal to health, well, we do it here. I'm multiplying the value, which was 7, by the attribute value of the attack power. You see every value, sorry, if you go look here on the bottom, you're gonna have an attribute value, a minimum and a maximum. So whatever you have, let's just say attack power is a default by 1, for example, you're gonna always multiply it by 1. But for some reason, you ate a potion, it became 10. Now the damage you're gonna apply, let's just say, can here be 7. You multiply 7 by 10, and the result is 70. So you're gonna deal 70 damage. This is where it's gonna be influenced. This function, for whoever needs it, you don't need to worry about this. And this one is also where we get the value from the animation, so you don't have to worry about that. So for attack property, that's the same one I just explained. So before we apply any damage, we're influencing the amount. So you said we put it here to 7, and you're gonna multiply 7 by 70, but that will come after the impact result is determined, and that's where we're gonna go next. We're gonna head to defense properties, and that's where it's gonna be handled. So you try to apply something, it will ask the defense property what this hit or what this trace hit is gonna be about. Is it gonna be a deflect? Is it gonna be a block? Is it gonna be a hit? So when you try to apply before we apply any damage, I'm gonna have to check the defense property of the target that you hit. What is it going to be about? So if you go to defense properties, and that's where I'm handling most of the magic for the TCF thing. So right here, I have a process received attack, and where is this being handled? Let's go to this guy. Let's go even more. On any damage, I'm checking if the state manager exists for the controller. The state manager exists only on the controller, it's not on the character. I'm checking the active state. If it's active, not equal to dead. If it's not equal to dead, on attack received. On attack received, we'll fire the process received attack that is on the defense property. So you can see here, defense property from the local combat component, which is again something related to the character. You can see every character has a combat component, even the player. And I actually forgot to show you that. Let me show you here really quick. The components between the AI and the player are almost identical. The only difference is that I have an inherited component from the base combat component for the enemy, and as well as the player has a targeting component, which the what do you call it? The AI doesn't have, because the AI doesn't target you like normal targeting where you look on and the camera moves with you. That doesn't exist. So for the time being, I was explaining the base defense property. So this function will fire. When this fire, I'm determining the impact result, and this is where this is extremely important. I want you to focus really good. When the thing that is receiving it receives it, this will travel to fire. So I'm getting the state of gameplay tag a clash. There's a state called the clash. So for every AI, I said in the documentation that every AI has a data asset, right? And this, very similarly to the player, it has states to fire. So the states that exist here will attempt to fire if it has this tag. Where is the tag? Clash. So in Genichiro's case, there is no clash. So if the state does not exist, it will not fire, or not try to fire. But say, so for here I'm bypassing this. This was for testing, so you can forget it. Right away it goes to deflect. So how does a state, if found, will fire? So the deflect here will return a value for Genichiro's case, because he has a deflected state. You can see it right here. It even has the state deflect that you can see here. So when that is found, and it will find it, it will perform the can perform state function. Now similarly between the AI and the player, let's go back to the player case for the data asset. I have an attacking, let's just say attacking, equip state. Any state has a can perform state function. Again, it's something you can override. All these functions you can override. So can perform state will attempt to check the abilities within it. Again, I'm going to come back to abilities later. If you open the ability within it, it has a condition as well. It has a can perform ability. Now, if these return true, then the state will return true. If the state returns true, this will go to true path. If not, do something else. So what happens when it's true? If it found something, consider what is it? A deflect? Deflect. If it's a clash, a clash. If it's a block, a block. If it's not a block, then it's definitely a hit. So that will take care of this. And we're processing the attack property. From that, set defense impact values. Self-explanatory. Apply impact hit reactions. And after you apply the hit reactions, impact attributes. And when impact attributes start to fire, I'm using a function here called influence attribute receive, value to receive, and that's being called here. Now when this is being called, let's just say at a certain phase, boss number 1 increased his defense by 50%. Now this is where the function is being handled. If an attribute with a value, let's just say health, had another value influenced by the defense I talked about, it will negate any damage, not negate, modify the damage that was multiplied by the attack power from the player. It will divide it by whatever value you have for health and so other things, attribute and poison or whatever other things. So that will be impacted as well. So that's something I wanted to explain. And remember, the values or the damage is being applied after the hit reaction. The hit reaction is different per enemy or per player. So every enemy, in my case, in Ichiro's case, I was using, where is it? It's in the parent. For every enemy I have has a defense property, which is something you can set right here. So this function, after you call it, you set defense property again from the combat component. So this one will fire, and you can modify any of the variables any of the functions or the variables that I specified there. So that's something to keep your eye on. About the damage influencing from the receiver side, I forgot to specify one specific thing. On the right side right here, you can see when I said the defense, let's just say the boss increases defense by 50%, I forgot to mention where to set that. So that's being set on the defense property for every enemy that you want to have a defense property. So by default, I have health assigned to defense power. So if defense power has a value, I'm showing you for the health that was received, the damage amount that was received from the attacker, that is going to get divided by whatever you have here. If you want to change the math behind it or the way it functions, override this function. As simple as it can get. Even the multiplier for the damage, you can also override the one on the attack property. That remains always within the same criteria. So you change that, it will apply differently. So I just showed you how to apply an attack property, how to assign a defense property, and how to assign their values. One last thing I forgot to mention, which is gonna be, which is why I wanted to keep it to the very end. Now, I said every attack that you do has, what do you call it? Input buffer is assigned with it, right? The input buffer does not necessarily, and focus here very well, does not necessarily mean it will fire the one from the controller. So say for example, here you want to run attack, okay? Actually right mouse, Okay, right mouse will attempt to try to do blocking as well as attack if it fails. So here, this one takes an array. The first value is the one that is important. To try to do this one first. If it failed, it will try to do this, and so on. Again, if you don't have the value assigned, the state assigned, let's just say there's no blocking here, it won't fire any block because it just simply won't find it. You want it to run right mouse click at this point, right? So right mouse click when the input buffer is running and it's set to something different, last suggested input, this one will attempt to save it as a buffered input. So if it's instant and it will fire, it will continue the true path, and that's where this will start firing. But since it was last registered and it's not instant, it will try to save the input buffered input. Now how does this try to save buffered input work? Let's just show you a quick example. So for attacking, I have an attacking state, right? And I wanted to affect the attacking state. So try to save as a buffered input at the point you fire this, okay? This point right here. If this tries to fire, it will check fire buffer. This one will be called fire buffered input. It will check the input that was fired. If it's attack, okay, and the current active ability has a tag as well. I forgot to mention this to you. Abilities have tags as well. Just like states, you're gonna have to set them. Abilities have tags. The current active ability is light attack, which is the left mouse button. If it's called, okay, and attacking is fired, attacking input is fired right here, and light attack ability is fired, it will try to perform start ability. Now light attack, if you call start ability, it will perform the normal attack. If you click again, it will perform the second attack, which is light attack 1, light attack 2, light attack 3, and so on. And this will continue. Start ability, we will clear the buffered input and remove all non-buffering objects. What I want to show you here is, let's just say you're in block, okay? And within block, forget block because block is a bit harder to explain. Let's just say hold attack, okay? And within hold attack, actually no, that's also a bad example. Let's go to dodge. If you're dodging and you click, if the input you clicked was dodging and you're in the middle of an attack, okay? The light attack that is active will be cancelled and you perform dodge. This dodge is not related to this dodge, the one that you see here. Where is it? It's not assigned to it. That means if you click the dodge, which is the space key, in the middle of a light attack, which is you can set up here, you could perform an entirely different state. That means, let's just say I clicked block in the middle of an attack, and I don't want him to just dodge. Sorry, let's just say I clicked space in the middle of an attack. Let's just say I don't want him to dodge, I want him to do something else. Let's just say we have multiple states in here. Maybe I want to convert my weapon. I'm in the middle of an attack and I click the space. I want to convert my weapon. You could totally do that without relying on the controller settings. So that means unlimited possibilities for every active ability. This is entirely different than what you guys know, I'm pretty sure. So therefore, every state that has this function, and every player state has it, if you configure it properly, the inputs that you try to buffer at any given time could potentially lead to different gameplays, different gameplay mechanics. Or let's just say you're in the middle of a special attack that you only see happen once within cinematic a clip or whatever, and you click a specific button that could do something else, rather than adding an entirety of branches and F branches and what happens if this is active, what happens if that active. So this is why I wanted to keep this to the very end, just to surprise you with it. Congratulations to whoever stayed to the very end. In the next few videos, we're going to explain how to set up a new state, how to modify a state, how to add abilities, things that will fire if an ability fires, and so on. So this whole overview turned out pretty much longer than I expected. I apologize for everybody, but it was necessary that you guys get all this info at one place. On the next few videos, we'll explain a little bit slower and more step on step so I can do things with you and you guys can follow. Thank you for watching and have a good day.